Welcome back to the channel. I know that it's been a couple of weeks since my last video. My apologies. It's just been a crazy busy summer, but here we are. And today I wanted to focus on BTC's outlook for the next 6 to 12 months. There are several reasons, some huge reasons why one could easily be very bullish right now. There's basically about 7 to 8 reasons why someone could be very bullish. There's really about 7 to 8 reasons why someone could also be very bearish. So let's get into all of these reasons, cover them as quickly as possible, make sure the video is not too long, and then you can decide whether you think that BTC's outlook should be bearish or bullish in the next 6 to 12 months. All right, so for the number one reason why someone should be bullish on Bitcoin right now, you're probably thinking that I'm going to start off by stating that it is the approval of ETF for BlackRock that may happen. That should be the number one reason. And that would be completely wrong. The number one reason why one should be bullish on Bitcoin is its fundamentals. The scarcity of the asset. We know that it's going to be capped at 21 million, and that's that. There's 46 million millionaires in the world. So less than half of them are going to be able to secure one whole Bitcoin. And we don't have to worry about the monetary or fiscal policy of Bitcoin changing. It is what it is. It is completely decentralized. It is an asset that is controlled by no one but available to everyone. Also, the SEC has registered it and listed it and categorized it as a commodity. So we know we're good on that front, which is the reason why these big players like Fidelity, BlackRock, and so on are trying to get the approval for the spot Bitcoin ETF. And if you don't know what an ETF stands for an exchange traded fund, and this would put a massive amount of buy pressure, but we'll get to that. Now, as far as other reasons why the fundamentals are so strong, it is so secure. It's such a secure network. And look, if you want to own one Bitcoin, you can do it. It's secure. You're good. You don't have to worry about it. What is it at 30,156? If you want to do the same with gold, you have to keep $30,000 worth of gold in your own home. You have to secure that and worry about that. So look, with gold, you can't travel around with $30,000 worth of gold, but with Bitcoin you can. And the adoption rates cannot be more bullish. The most bullish charts that I know of right now are the adoption rates for Bitcoin, whether it's one Bitcoin, 10% of a Bitcoin, number of wallets with any Bitcoin. They keep growing and growing. And when you look at adoption rates and compare them to the internet, to all sorts of different things that we have seen in the past, this adoption rate is probably one of the highest. All right, so yeah, reason number two, the BlackRock ETF. That's obviously huge. You probably heard about it so much. I'm not going to go into too much detail. You're probably tired about hearing about it, but it is going to put a tremendous amount of buy pressure on Bitcoin. It's going to be a beautiful thing, and others will be following one by one, from Fidelity to all these huge names, and it's just going to give it more and more street cred, and all of these different investors that don't own any Bitcoin today will now have access to do so. So yeah, that's going to be a big story. And it's going to be what we hope catapults Bitcoin into a totally different level. And maybe then after the next bull run, we won't see an 85% retracement because of the fact that it's now being treated as a very different asset. Reason number three, Jay Powell gave the entire crypto industry a huge nod of respect when he stated that crypto is showing that it has staying power. That was a big deal. It gave a little bump in the charts that day, but I just think that it was a big deal. Probably should have been talked about more. And it just goes to show how some of the most respected names in the game, whether you think that some of the things that Jay Powell has done is incorrect, or maybe he has weird agendas, whatever, this was a big nod of respect to the entire crypto industry. All right, reason number four, the Bitcoin halvening. This will be big. Just look at any chart. It's been big every single time. This should be no different. We're going to talk about some reasons why maybe it won't be have as big of an impact as it has in the past when we talk about reasons to be bearish. But just keep in mind with the halvening, you probably heard it all, is that after the date of the halvening, Bitcoin has historically then taken about a 30% retracement. So that is something to be careful with the day after the halvening, which I believe is April of 2024. So yeah, something to definitely keep in mind is that it's happened every single time. Maybe things will be different this time. I know the meme, it's different this time because maybe by then the spot Bitcoin ETF has already been approved for BlackRock, and who knows, maybe even Fidelity by then. I don't know, but just keep that in mind. The next reason to be bullish is the TA. Yes, the TA. We have to talk about the TA on this channel. And look, I decided to use in back of me the 6-month chart. I could have used many different long-term charts to prove my point. But if you look at this chart, obviously incredibly bullish. Hard not to be bullish on Bitcoin, midterm or long term, if you simply just look at the charts and really break them down. You have to be bullish, bullish, bullish when it comes to the TA on Bitcoin. Another huge reason why one has to be bullish on Bitcoin long term, even if you don't care for crypto, don't care for charts or any of that, is just the simple fact that governments keep devaluating and debasing their currencies over and over again. It has happened over history, time and time again, doesn't seem to be stopping. In fact, it seems to be getting worse. And it's happening not just here in the US, but all over the globe. So we can count on the fact that fiat money and these governments are just going to keep getting debased and valued over and over again. It's going to get worse and worse. Again, that is incredibly bullish for an asset like Bitcoin. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm totally against or fed up with politicians. I do think that it's really exciting, really cool to see that so many big politicians are starting to step up and publicly announce the fact that they're going to fight for Bitcoin and that they understand the value and the use cases for Bitcoin. And we're seeing that in a way where we haven't really seen it happen ever before. And I just think that that trend is going to keep growing as well. As these politicians that are younger, not to sound ageist or anything, but it just seems like the older the politician, the more likely they are going to be against Bitcoin. As these politicians that are younger now and start kind of getting bigger and bigger roles in government, sooner or later you're going to see one of them become president that actually already owns some Bitcoin in their own personal wallet. So again, these are reasons to be incredibly bullish on Bitcoin. Yes, this video is about the kind of the next 6 to 9 months, maybe 12 months, but just long term. I just can't see a scenario where I can't be incredibly bullish on Bitcoin. All right, so over the next 6 to 12 months, there are certain headwinds coming our way. There are reasons to be bearish as well. I was all sorts of bearish all of last year. I am sick and tired of being bearish. It treated us very well with trading last year. But look, guys, I'm going to try to go through the bearish things coming up as quick as possible because, like I said before, I am tired of being bearish. But let's get into it. We have a three-headed monster coming up, and that is the fact that Janet Yellen, I always mispronounce that name, she will be having to issue more debt. She just is. Due to the debt ceiling being raised, she's now having to basically issue a lot more debt. And that is definitely going to drain liquidity from the market. So we're going to have that. That's A. And the reason why I call it three-headed monster is because of B and C. So now let's talk about B. B is the fact that Jay Powell has made it all sorts of crystal clear that 2 more rate hikes are coming up this year. And if you look at the dot plot, which basically gives us the kind of like the, I guess, sentiment / predictions of what his colleagues are stating or where their mind is, they seem to be in alignment. Most of them are with 2 more rate hikes. So we're going to have 2 more rate hikes this year, guys. So that's B. So that's not a 2-headed monster. And the reason why it's not a 3-headed monster is because we're still under the umbrella of quantitative tightening. And you put those 3 together, a whole lot of liquidity is going to be drained from these markets. It is what it is. And guess what? For an asset like Bitcoin, that I hate the fact that it's listed as a risk asset because I think it's the best store of value that you could possibly imagine. It is what it is. And basically, if everyone or most of the big players still see it as a risk asset, well, when all this liquidity is drained from the markets, Bitcoin will unfortunately will be affected from all that. Okay, so we already talked about the reasons why I feel that there's going to be a liquidity crunch coming up. And to add to that, unfortunately, the data that's coming in regards to money supply, so this would be any M2 chart, whether it's the US, South America, Japan, Europe, whatever. Unfortunately, it does look like we're going to have even less money supply in basically all the major markets except for China. So the data coming in showing money supply increasing in China is not in alignment with the other countries. So the US, Japan, Europe, we are going to see shrinkage with money supply. So that is not going to help when we know that an asset like Bitcoin that is addicted to liquidity, unfortunately, is going to be adversely hit by this drain in money supply. Another reason why one can easily be bearish over the next 6 to 12 months is that the commercial real estate crisis is looming. It seems like it's almost inevitable. It's going to hit us in some way, shape, or form, and it's just impossible to ignore. How big of an impact it will have, time will tell. There's a lot of planning going on. I know that many developers are trying to figure out a way to maybe turn some of these buildings into apartments, but that in itself is extremely tricky and very expensive. So yes, the commercial real estate market is going to see, I think, something that's pretty big, and who knows if it's going to be what actually causes something to really, really break, which would then in turn cause the Powell and the Fed to possibly pivot. Now, this CRE crisis could be a reason maybe why we go into a recession. Many very, very smart people believe that we are basically destined for a recession, whether it's going to be Q4 of this calendar year or Q1 of the next calendar year. I don't know, but most of the data seems to point that that's about, if a recession does happen, and it's a big recession, that's when it's going to happen. So there are two big reasons right there why one can have maybe the hope, if you're still trying to pick up as many sats of Bitcoin as possible, maybe one can have the hope that there's going to be even more time to keep desaying into an asset that we all think will be a very, very good buy long term. And finally, the last two reasons why one could be bearish over the next 6 to 12 months is that we are seeing that the savings is getting depleted for most, not just here in the US, but across the globe. And it's very, very evident from most of the data that's coming out. I, for a while now, have felt that the data was something that maybe we couldn't trust, because that kind of data can be skewed when it comes to savings, because it takes into effect all of the really, really, really wealthy people, especially here in the US. So all that data just kind of skews things when we just know from other things that we've seen, and just from the way that the culture is, that most Americans were probably spending way too much, putting on the credit card, and now they're not paying it back at the same rate that they were before that. So that is something that you're going to start hearing a lot of in the next probably 6 to 12 months. And last but not least, it's just SEC heavy regulation. The Elizabeth Warrens of this world, the Joe Bidens of this world, Gary Gensler's obviously. I mean, they're all the same. They're all working on this together. They are not going to stop. They are against Bitcoin. They're against crypto. They don't understand it. They don't understand the value of it. They don't understand the use case. A clown like Elizabeth Warren still thinks that fiat money is better than Bitcoin. How can you have a discussion with someone like that where they just simply don't get it? So anyways, that about covers it. My bearish reasons why, the bearish reasons, the bullish reasons. There's a lot out there. Long term, I could not be more bullish on Bitcoin, and I don't know how to put that into words. I think you guys know that. But over the next 6 to 12 months, things can get very, very interesting, and there's just so many nuances. Again, if this BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF does get approved, what will that do for Bitcoin after the next bull run? What will it do after the next halvening? Will Bitcoin be retraced 30% like it usually does after the halvening? After the next bull run, will it still retrace 85% like it's done almost every other single bear market? I don't know. It's going to be really, really interesting. Anyone that tells you for sure that they know, they're lying to you. Unless they work for BlackRock, right? Because they're going to know probably everything. They'll know how much they have to, what they are going to have, what they're going to own, whether or not they're going to sell. Will they be shorting Bitcoin on the way down? Who knows? I don't know those answers. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's content. I hope this was helpful. And yeah, you guys know where to get a hold of me. If you have any questions, I am very easy to get a hold of. Twitter, Discord, Telegram, very easy to get a hold of. And I really appreciate you guys always reaching out. All right, take care. Enjoy the rest of your week.